For me, the big question with the Kelvin and Vitor fight that really is always the big question for me whenever Vitor fights is how did the first few minutes go and what does that say for the rest of the fight? So Vitor Belfort, even with him being off TRT, his hands are extremely fast. He can still land hard, and when he does land, it can cause big problems. He had a few really good flurries early in that fight against Kelvin where it looked like he had landed or he just barely missed, where it was like, okay, shit, if Vitor does land, he can still win this fight. Kelvin's very tough, but again, Kelvin's still a natural 170. You take a hard shot from Vitor Belfort or a few hard shots with how hard or how many punches he throws in his combinations, it can be a short night for you. So Kelvin was able to hang tough. He got through it. He landed his own combination, dropped Vitor, got to the ground. Vitor was really good about covering up. It looked as though that fight was about to be over off of the first time that he got dropped, but Vitor maintained his composure, was able to control Kelvin's posture, killed a little bit of time. Kelvin eventually went back to his feet. They went at it a little bit again. Vitor wasn't throwing as much that time around. Obviously, he probably was still feeling it from the first time he got dropped. And again, once you get rocked by someone, you're not going to be as willing to throw wildly on him. Kelvin, again, landed I believe it was a 1-2, then a 2-3, where he was stepping in really quick on Vitor. Vitor wasn't getting out of the way fast enough and put him down again. Ref didn't give him that much time this time around and stepped in. Kelvin got the victory. After the fight, Kelvin took a line from Chael Sonnen and said that he wants to be on a Legends ass-kicking tour and that he's looking at Anderson Silva in Brazil as his next fight. I don't hate that fight for him, to be honest. I think with Kelvin, he's getting to a point right now where either at welterweight or middleweight, wherever he decides to go, he's only about 2 fights away from the title at this point. A lot of the wins that he's had have been really impressive. He had that really close fight. I believe it went to a split decision with Tyron Woodley already. Now, granted, he missed weight on that fight. He beat Johnny Hendricks. He beat Tim Kennedy. Now he's beaten Vitor Belfort. You either give him, if he's going to stay at middleweight, you can give him whoever is available, whether it's like a Luke Rockhold type. You could wait until after Weidman and Mousasi fight, give him one of those. Yoel Romero, I don't know what they're going to do with him if they just want to have him sit around and wait for the fight with GSP and Bisping. You could either give him one of those types of guys, or what Kelvin's saying right now is he fights a guy like Anderson Silva, who's towards the top. Anderson won his last fight against Derek Brunson, although when I say won, I mean the judges declared that he won. I don't believe that he actually won that fight. Kelvin can do some similar things to Derek Brunson. Now, Brunson's a bigger guy, but I feel like Kelvin's a little more technical when he comes forward. I'd be interested to see how that fight plays out, but if Kelvin Gastelum gets a win over Anderson Silva, that's huge for him, especially if it's in Brazil. That's going to be a high-profile fight. That's the kind of fight where you can springboard him into a number 1 contenders fight, and at that point, you're still on that 2-fight path, and Kelvin could see himself in a title fight very, very shortly, so I like that for him. For Vitor, it sounds like he's got everything planned out now. He's going to retire after his next fight unless the Legends division comes up. This Legends division that he speaks of sounds absolutely ridiculous. I'll get into detail on why I think it's a terrible idea, but for what it's worth right now, it sounds like Vitor has one more fight left in him in the UFC and regular MMA, and he'll be sailing off into the sunset at that point.